This was an awesome, action-packed episode, and we really got to see everyone face off against their respective opponents, and boy did Killua and Bisky whip some ass!
Hunter x Hunter, episode 73, Insanity and Sanity.
Now that was a fun episode, man. Woo! Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and hunters and lovers of Genthru the Bomber of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-filled strategic tale of Hunter x Hunter. Now, in our last episode, honestly, there was not a ton going on. It was really just kind of a game of chase, or cat and mouse, I guess you would say, as Sagara and his team were trying to evade Genthru and his guys, Sub and Battera. And really it wound up all culminating in them, actually leaving the game, using Return to come into the real world, and finding out that Mr. Battera, who had hired them and put them on this adventure to try to go and complete Greed Island for the last several years, had basically locked himself in his office or room and was like, you know what, everything's done, I'm going to pay you guys and leave. So that's where things left off, and honestly, things wind up picking up over here. Sagara and his team, I guess after you're not in the game for 240 hours, so the equivalent to 10 days, if you don't return to the game, you lose your slot cards that you have in your binder. So it starts out where Genthru and his group are basically, it's on the 10th day, and they're waiting, they're camping out at the entrance, of the game, hoping or thinking that Sagara and his group will come back in. However, they wind up finding out, actually Gon and Killua and Bisky find out through communicating with Gorenu, that they actually went and they copied and faked some of the cards and switched some of around, and basically like he more or less has all the really good important cards right now, and they left the game in order to buy more time, obviously, as agreed and as the deal was with that they had made, that Sagara had made with Gon and Killua. So anyways, that's how things wind up, starting off over here. And we do get a little bit of, some of the high points of this episode are, and there was quite a few of them. The first order of business for me is Sagara sitting down with Battera and finding out what the deal is and why he's called this whole thing off. I mean, he's had people in there, he's staked his fortune on this, on buying these copies of Greed Island and sending hundreds of people, some to their death, into this game to try to complete it, and we didn't know why, right? We wind up finding out that the reason why is that he has a picture that he's sitting there of a younger woman, and he's obviously an older man, and it's definitely like a Hugh Hefner, one of the Playboy Bunny type things. It's a she's old enough to be like his granddaughter. Anyway, he explains that it was his lover, right? And she wound up getting into some kind of accident, is the bottom line, and was in some sort of coma. He wound up hearing about the game Greed Island, and that if you can complete it and you can bring out items with you, you could bring out the Breath of Archangel card, and that could actually heal her, restore her, bring her back, whatever the case is. However, this coma that she's been in, we presume for years, right? She died just recently. So that's basically where the whole thing is, from him just saying, fuck it, I give up, I'm done, And he staked his whole fortune on it. And he was like, and it was really actually saddening to watch, because he talked about how she would never accept any gifts from him because she didn't want anybody to think that, he was her sugar daddy type of deal. And, and I have a lot of respect for that, because obviously love really does, it can transcend, I guess, age gaps and things like that. But nonetheless, though, that was the point with that, right? So then when we wind up going back to Genthru and his cronies, Sub and Battera, and it's kind of funny because their names are Sub and Battera, I believe, and it's kind of like, I think of subpar, because I think of this group as like subpar for this particular arc. I like the arc itself, but I think that this group of so-called villains are very subpar. Anyway, that's just my opinion, so we'll put those feelings aside for right now. What winds up happening, though, is we see that Gon has been practicing doing something when they're going to carry out this plan, which we don't know what it is yet. He has to go and be able to go and judge 1 minute down to the 100th of a second perfectly, right, for their plan to work. What winds up happening is Genthru and his group wind up getting enough of company cards so they have more than Gon in there. Same shit that they did to Sagara, so they can basically follow him around until they run out of cards, and then they have to fight him, right? So they go and confront him, they play the game of tag and whatnot, but all of this stuff is going according to Gon and Killua and Bisky's plan. They're pretending like they're taken aback, they're pretending like they weren't ready for this whole thing, they're running, they're making it look like, and the bottom line is what they're doing is they're dividing and conquering. They want to get everybody split off, so whatever plan Gon can enact against Genthru, he can do. And then Bisky can go off and fight Bara, and Sub can be fought by Killua. So they wind up actually confronting, the 3-on-3 in the forest, and Killua, is playing this off, man. They're all acting it like they're trying to win an Oscar, and he's like, yo, Bisky, run, and she's like, no, but she runs. Bara goes off chasing her, right, the longer-haired dude. The other guy winds up coming after, going after Killua, and they wind up taking off. As Bisky is running, right, and being chased, the fight between Genthru and Gon starts, but honestly, I don't really, even though it's supposed to be a focal point, I don't really understand what's going on yet, so I didn't really care for it that much. Genthru, to me, Gon went and gave Razor a run for his money, and I'm not talking about in a straight-up fight. Razor probably could have killed him, but I'm talking about just as far as the Nen and everything else that he was able to use in that game of dodgeball. And Gon has laid a beating on some pretty high-up characters. He's, as far as I'm concerned. And this Genthru guy has shown me nothing except for that he is a guy that has the power to basically blow people's faces up or whatever he touches with his little flower power. So, anyways, he winds up beating on Gon, and Gon's talking in his head. This is all going according to plan, and he's trying to make him use his power. And the significant thing is that as he goes to immediately come at him and use his power, Gon is able to block it. And Genthru's like, what? He's all surprised. How did you know about my power? It's like, dude, word gets around, buddy. Okay, you're trying to spread fear throughout the whole, like, I'm the bomber thing. People found out. People told people, right? So word travels fast. Anyway, when we take away from that battle and what's going on, because Genthru really just starts beating Gon, beating him senseless, and Gon's actually trying to get him to use his power on him for whatever plan they're trying to enact between him and Bisky and Killua. Or maybe the plan was just to kind of divide and conquer and hope for the best with Gon. I don't know. Gon does challenge Genthru, though, and says, you're just a common thief, and if you're not, then I want you to go and agree to whoever wins. The loser winds up giving the winner all of his cards, right? So Genthru does agree to that. But then we go over to Bisky, right, and her fight with Bara, I think it was. And if I got them confused, it's because to me they're so insignificant, Sub and Bara, whatever. Anyway, so they go and she winds up using a card that she had disguised, and a company card, and winds up getting both of them onto this this beach out in the middle of nowhere, right? And on the outskirts of a town or something like that. And he's like, why did you take me out, out here in this net? And she goes, because I didn't want you to be able to call out for help. And I was thinking, oh shit, Bisky's going in, right? So Bisky goes and starts coming at him with her little cute pigtail ass, and spin kick and punching and hitting everything else. And she lands 20, 30 blows on him. And then he just goes and hits her once and winds up knocking her back, And I'm thinking, really? I'm sorry, but these turd burglars are just not that powerful in my mind. But hey, whatever, right? It's not my fiction; it's somebody else's. So, so it is what it is. I'm not gonna go and criticize someone that I don't know. I'm not in their head. I don't know exactly what they were thinking when they wrote this or when when this was done. Anyways, so Bisky winds up going, I love this, man. She's just like, oh. And then all of a sudden you go and you don't really see it until the end, but she goes and just starts hulking up into this cool, just basically looks like a version of her that's been pumping steroids, just straight into the vein for 20 years, man. Just like this pumped up, muscle-headed, super WWE superstar, right? She's got muscles on top of muscles bulging out, and all of her veins are just hanging out at the top. It's comical. But she goes and just beats the living shit out of him, puts him down like the dog that he is, right? And he's like, what the hell? How come you didn't show your power in this net? And number one, why would she? Why would you show your power? Why would you show your opponent until you really needed to your full power? What the hell sense does that make? I can do this and this and this and this. Now I've given you a whole list of things so you can figure out how to counter them or get around them. It's how stupid is that? So anyway, to me, the answer was obvious, but then she also wound up saying, she goes, I don't like this form. I think it's disgusting, And they finally show it, because they'd only showed, muscled arms and legs and stuff as she was beating ass, And she's just, like I said, this huge roid-pumping looking freak, So anyway, so she handily defeats him, and he's done, right? And then it goes to the battle between Killua and the other guy, Sub, I think his name is, or whatever. He's got the kind of long hair, and, just, I don't know, sort of looks like some emo guy. Anyway, he winds up coming at Killua, and Killua is able to go. And Killua basically is going to use this battle as an experiment to try out some of his new powers. So he winds up kind of blocking, dodging, using his electricity. And it doesn't knock him out. It's not enough to knock him out, whatever jolt he gave him, but it was enough to kind of paralyze him for a few seconds. So Killua, for him, this really just seems like this is a game. He knows he can beat the guy, and he's just letting him play into his hand, right? But then what I thought was cool is Killua goes and busts out this yo-yo, right? He starts spinning it around and everything like that, and the guy's like, a yo-yo? What the hell? What's your deal, kid? Killua goes and spins it right at him. Dude dodges out of the way, all Matrix-style slow motion, it misses his head, right, and goes straight through, like, half of a tree trunk that's, like, 3 feet around, and the tree winds up falling over, and I'm like, damn! Killua says that this yo-yo he got was specially made, his brother got for him, or he got from his brother, and it's 50 kilograms, right? And I believe a kilogram is, like, 2.2 pounds, if I remember correctly. So we're talking like 100 pounds this thing is, right? And Killua's ass is just spinning around like it's nothing. Anyway, this dude goes and looks, and he thinks he's got it all planned out, and he's like, all right, well, whenever he does this, he leaves his right side open. So he goes to expose that, and obviously that's what you would do in a fight. You go to see what your opponent's weakness is, right? So he goes and plays right into Killua's hand and goes for his right side where his weak side is, right, to nail him, and thinks he's got this under control, right? When all of a sudden, from around behind him, from the other hand, Killua, boom, has a second yo-yo, knocks this fucking dude, dude hits the ground, right? And he's like, what the hell? You had a second yo-yo? Killua explains it, and that's what I love about the strategic battles that Togashi puts together in these things, right? It's all mental. He knew, he left himself open on the right, knowing that Killua knowing that he would try to expose that weakness, or what he thought was a weakness. It wasn't a weakness, it was how he wanted him to play into it, because when he did that, he goes and leaves his right side exposed, so Killua was able to come around with the other yo-yo, and the dude didn't even see it coming, right? So he was completely able to use his blind spot against him. He was able to use his own blind spot to create another blind spot. And that, oh man, just so awesome and so well done. And then he goes and takes both of them at the end and just goes, boom, and I mean puts him down and just puts him right to this dude's head, man. And this dude's out, right? So now we know that Killua and Bisky have handily defeated their opponents, right? And the only one that's left is the Scooby-Doo reject over here from the Scooby-Doo remake Genthru, right? So Genthru goes back to the battle, and he's attacking Gon. And Gon, whatever plan they were supposed to have, Gon's still very prideful, right? So he still wants to go and make this dude use his power. And I don't know if that's part of the plan, if it's according to plan, or if Gon is just kind of ad-libbing it from here. But really, it's very frustrating because you see Gon getting beat up by this guy, and you know, you wonder in your mind, why? Where are all the different powers that you learned about Ko and using your Nen to reinforce this area, and rock, paper, rock, and where are all those things now? I know, obviously, like with the rock, paper, rock, you know, he has to go and kind of charge it up and everything like that. But where are any of those type of moves for offense or defense? This dude's just, like, batting him around like he's, you know, just like he's nothing, and Gon's getting kicked against trees and getting beaten up and everything else, and I sure as shit hope that something different winds up transpiring in the next episode, because the episode ends off with him Gon finally, I guess, letting him beat on him enough that Genthru feels that he should use his power against him, because Gon keeps coming back defiant. You haven't beat me yet, you haven't beat... And although we know that Gon has a lot of heart, that's great, but really, what's the deal? Like, I want to figure out what the plan is over here, you know? So, anyway, I got to watch the next episode, but that's where the episode leaves off, is right as, you know, the narrator comes on, like, right as Genthru's about to go and use his power, his little flower power. And you know, and obviously that's what Gon was trying to get him to do. So I can't wait to see what the actual plan is, and to see if it actually pans out the way that they thought it was going to. But all in all, a great episode. A lot of action, a lot of fun. My episode question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is what were two parts. What were your thoughts on Bisky, and obviously her ability to just turn into this freaking hulking monster, gorilla, ape, whatever you want to call it, man, this steroid freak of nature? And also, what were your thoughts on Killua and using the strategic... I mean, he was really just playing with the guy, trying to experiment with some new moves and things like that. But how about Killua and them double yo-yos, 50 kilograms each, boy? Woo! Let me know what your answer to those questions are in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
Remember to subscribe to other channels and follow on Facebook and Twitter as well.